Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an ancient text, a dialogue that's, well, surprisingly relevant to how we often talk about our deepest desires and what we consider supreme in our own lives.
It really is. What's truly fascinating about this particular sutta, the Vekhaṇasasuttaṃ is recorded in Sabbatiya Jetavana, is how it just masterfully dismantles these, vague claims.
Mm-hmm.
And it gently, yet powerfully, guides someone towards a much more precise understanding of reality. It's a profound lesson, really, for anyone navigating a world just full of assertions.
Definitely. So our mission for this deep dive is to extract the core wisdom from this really captivating exchange between a wandering ascetic, Vekhaṇasa, and the Buddha.
Yeah.
We'll explore their differing views on supreme beauty and supreme pleasure, and ultimately figure out how you can genuinely understand these big concepts for yourself, moving beyond just the words.
Sounds good.
So let's set the scene. Imagine we're in ancient Savatthi at the Jetavana monastery. It's this place, buzzing with seekers, scholars, and the Buddha's residing there.
Right.
And this wandering ascetic, Vekhaṇasa, he approaches, they exchange polite greetings, and then boom, right out of the gate, he makes this rather bold declaration.
Oh, yeah. He confidently proclaims, this is the supreme beauty, this is the supreme beauty, just like that. A grand statement full of conviction.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is here, definitely.
Yeah.
Because when the Buddha asks him to specify, what kind of beauty are you actually talking about, he just repeats it.
Just repeats the same phrase.
Basically, yeah. Says there's no other beauty superior or more exquisite than this beauty, but it's completely unnamed, undefined. He's making this ultimate claim, but it's empty.
That's such a common thing, though, isn't it? We use these huge words, ultimate, best, supreme, but when you actually try to pin down the meaning,
It often just dissolves.
Yeah. So the Buddha, he responds with this just ingenious analogy that perfectly exposes this kind of vagueness.
Exactly. He paints this picture, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a man who claims he desires and loves the most beautiful woman in the entire country.
Okay.
Sounds plausible, maybe? But then when you ask him about her, basic stuff, is she from a warrior family? Brahmin, merchant, serf? What's her lineage?
Right, specifics.
Specifics. What does she look like? Tall, short, medium, dark, swarthy, scabby-skinned.
You can't say.
Can't say a thing. Can't even name the village, town, or city she lives in. He finally just admits he desires someone he doesn't know or see.
Wow. And the Buddha then turns to Vekhaṇasa quite pointedly and asks, well, isn't that man's statement basically unsubstantiated?
And Vekhaṇasa, he's kind of cornered, right? He has to agree, yes, good Gautama, it is. It's a brilliant setup, logically.
Absolutely. Then the Buddha just brings it right back around.
Full circle. Points out that Vekhaṇasa is doing the very same thing, declaring a supreme beauty, but being totally unable to describe it. It's like holding up a mirror, isn't it? Gently but firmly, showing the emptiness of the claim.
So finally, under this Socratic pressure,
Yeah, exactly.
Vekhaṇasa does offer a description. He gives his definition of supreme beauty.
He does. He says, just as a beryl, gem beautiful, brilliant, eight-faceted, perfectly cut, placed on a pale yellow cloth, shines, blazes, and radiates.
Okay, a very vivid image.
Very vivid. So is the self, healthy after death. That, he says, is the supreme beauty.
So a specific image, but tied to this idea of the self healthy after death, which is, let's say, a bit abstract.
Definitely abstract. And this is where the conversation gets really interesting, I think, because now you have a concrete definition, even if it's limited. How do you challenge that kind of supreme claim?
Right.
And the Buddha's method here is just remarkably insightful. He uses this series of comparisons like a ladder involving progressively brighter sources of light. He's basically going to get Vekhaṇasa to dismantle his own claim.
Ah, so he leads him through it. And as the Buddha lays out this sequence, it's almost captivating. You can imagine Vekhaṇasa, step by step, having to admit his own initial claim gets outshone.
Exactly. He's forced to acknowledge this hierarchy of brilliance, starting from his supposedly supreme gem.
It's like gentle persuasion through, well, almost direct experience, isn't it? Comparing things.
It really is. The Buddha asked Vekhaṇasa to compare his beryl gem beauty against these other lights, always asking, which is more beautiful, more exquisite?
So first up, deep dark night. The beryl gem versus a glowworm.
A humble glowworm, yeah. And Vekhaṇasa said the glowworm is superior.
Wow. Okay. So much for the supreme gem right off the bat.
Pretty much. Then, okay, glowworm versus an oil lamp in the dark.
The oil lamp wins.
Yep. Then oil lamp versus a great mass of fire in the dark.
The fire Makes sense. He's steadily climbing this ladder of brightness.
And it keeps going up into the sky. So the great fire versus a star at dawn, clear sky.
The star is superior.
Right. Then the star versus the moon on a full moon uposatha night, clear sky again.
The moon takes it.
And finally the moon versus the sun. Specifically, the sun at midday in autumn, end of the rainy season, perfectly clear sky. Maximum brilliance.
And Vekhaṇasa has to declare the sun superior.
He does. And what's so profound here is how Vekhaṇasa, by consistently picking the brighter light each time, has implicitly, step by step, shown there's a whole hierarchy of brilliance.
Right.
He started claiming his beryl gem, his self after death, was the ultimate supreme beauty, but he himself just demonstrated it's outshone by a glowworm, let alone the sun. He's actively dismantled his own grand assertion through just comparing things.
So the qualm insight isn't just that his gem isn't the brightest.
No, that's part of it, but the real punchline comes next.
The
Buddha points out, look, there are many deities whose radiance is far, far greater than even the sun and moon. Immensely brighter.
Right.
But the Buddha says, I don't go around claiming there's no other beauties superior to their light. He acknowledges even greater splendors without calling them the absolute, final, supreme.
I see. It's the contrast. Vekhaṇasa claims ultimate supremacy for something shown to be quite low on the scale.
Exactly. Inferior even to a glowworm by his own admission. While the Buddha acknowledges far greater lights, but refrains from making that absolute supreme claim.
It's a huge lesson about the danger of absolute claims based on, well, limited perspective, isn't it?
Totally. This sutta just pushes you, the listener, to always test your assertions, maybe even deeply held beliefs, against a broader reality, against direct comparison, against experience.
Okay, so having skillfully, you might say, dismantled Vekhaṇasa's abstract supreme beauty, the Buddha then shifts gears a bit.
He does. He moves to something maybe more tangible, more universally appealing for many people. Sensual pleasure.
Right, brings it down to earth.
Yeah, he defines the 5 sense pleasures. You know, the things we experience through our senses. Forms for the eye, sounds for the ear, smells for the nose, taste for the tongue, touch for the body.
The usual suspect.
The usual suspects. And he describes them as, agreeable, pleasing, charming, delightful, connected with sensual desire, stimulating passion. He's basically outlining what many people chase as happiness.
And he defines sensual pleasure, kamasukha, as the happiness and joy that arises specifically conditioned by these 5 sense inputs.
Exactly. And the text says, thus, from sensual desires comes sensual pleasure. From sensual pleasure, the highest sensual pleasure is declared.
Now, is the Buddha endorsing this as the ultimate pleasure?
Not quite. It's more like he's acknowledging that within the realm of ordinary worldly gratification, this is what's generally considered the peak, the highest form of pleasure derived from the senses.
Got it. And Vekhaṇasa's reaction to this definition?
It's interesting. He expresses amazement, like, wow, good Gautama, which suggests maybe his own understanding of sensual pleasure was different, or perhaps incomplete. But then the Buddha adds a crucial clarification. He says it's actually quite difficult for someone like Vekhaṇasa, with his different views, beliefs, inclinations, practices, his whole way of life, to truly comprehend what sensual desire, sensual pleasure, or the highest sensual pleasure really are in their depths.
So it's not just about the definition, it's about the capacity to understand it fully.
Precisely. The Buddha states that only arahants, those who completely destroy the defilements, lived the holy life, laid down the burden, totally liberated through right knowledge, only they would truly know and understand these concepts in their fullest, most liberated sense.
That's a really subtle but profound pivot, isn't it? It shifts from just defining pleasure to understanding the state of mind required to grasp its true nature or lack thereof.
Exactly. It's about the perspective, the freedom from delusion needed for real comprehension.
Okay, and this. This seems to be where things get a bit tense. Vekhaṇasa doesn't take this well.
No, he doesn't. He apparently gets angry, discontented, maybe feeling challenged, misunderstood, perhaps backed into a corner again.
And he lashes out.
He does. He insults the Buddha, basically accusing certain ascetics and Brahmins, and you assume he means the Buddha and his followers, of making these empty, hollow, ridiculous claims.
Claims about what?
About achieving liberation. The classic formula, birth is destroyed, the holy life lived, what was to be done has been done, there is no more for this state of being. Vekhaṇasa accuses them of saying this without truly understanding the past or the future.
Interesting. It's almost like deflection, right? His own claims were shown to be shaky, so now he attacks the Buddha's claims, or claims like them.
It definitely feels like a common human reaction when your own understanding is shown to be limited. But the Buddha's response is, again, remarkably calm.
He doesn't get defensive.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that, yes, making such claims about liberation without knowing the past or future would be self-refuting according to the Dhamma. He agrees on that point.
Okay.
But then he does something really powerful. He extends this invitation, shifting the whole basis of the discussion away from debating past lives or future states. He says, let the past be, let the future be.
Wow. Just let it go.
Yeah. Forget the speculation, forget the intellectual arguments about ultimate states for a moment. Instead, he challenges you, the listener, directly.
Me? How so?
Well, the you in the sutta, and by extension, us. He says, if you're a discerning person, honest, not deceitful, straightforward, come forward.
An open invitation.
A direct invitation to experience. The Buddha's promise is, if you practice according to his instruction, you will. And he says, not longhand, so fairly quickly.
Right.
Know for yourselves, see for yourselves, thus indeed is liberation from bondage, namely liberation from the bondage of ignorance.
He's saying, don't just believe me, don't argue about it. Come and see. Experience it.
Exactly. Test it. Verify it yourself. And he uses another wonderful analogy to illustrate this kind of experiential liberation.
Okay.
He says, imagine a tiny baby, young, weak, lying on its back. And it's bound by, the text says, 5 throat bonds.
Throat bonds, what do they represent?
Conceptually, you can think of them as the attachments, the defilements, the ignorance that bind us, that restrict our spiritual freedom, like physical restraints.
Okay, like being tied up by our own limitations.
Precisely. But then the analogy continues. As the infant grows, gets stronger, its faculties mature, those bonds would naturally loosen, become weak.
Ah, through growth and development.
Right, and the child, once free, would know, I am liberated. Even if, importantly, it didn't fully understand the exact nature of the bondage itself while it was still bound.
So liberation is something you realize directly, through experience, even without a full intellectual grasp of the problem beforehand.
That's the point he's making. Liberation from ignorance is an experiential, self-realized knowledge. It's not just claiming something intellectually like Vekhaṇasa was doing with beauty. It's a process of unbinding, of realizing freedom directly.
That's incredibly powerful. And this combination, the direct invitation, the clarity of the teaching, maybe the sheer calm confidence of the Buddha, it works on Vekhaṇasa.
It completely turns him around. This powerful invitation, the analogies, the whole approach, it profoundly impacts him. He doesn't just concede a point, he's won over.
So he accepts the teaching.
Wholeheartedly. He declares, excellent, good Gautama. Excellent. And he takes refuge right then and there as a lay follower, committing himself to the Buddha's path. A complete transformation.
Amazing. So looking back at this whole deep dive into the Vekhaṇasasuttaṃ,
it really throws into sharp relief the difference between, speculative claims, no matter how grand they sound, and direct, verifiable knowledge or experience.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, not just about what we claim to know, but how we know it. And the absolute importance of precision, of clear language, and maybe most importantly, experiential validation in pursuing truth.
So, what's the takeaway for you listening right now? Maybe next time you hear a grand assertion about the ultimate, anything could be the best phone, the perfect diet, the supreme truth someone's selling.
Right.
Consider applying the Vekhaṇasa test. Can the person making the claim actually describe it clearly, specifically, or is it vague, like that most beautiful woman?
And maybe more importantly, are they inviting you to test it, to experience it for yourself, or are they just asking you to believe their pronouncement, their beryl gem?
It's about shifting maybe from just nodding along intellectually to engaging in personal inquiry, isn't it?
Absolutely. This sutta is a great reminder that real understanding, deep understanding, often doesn't come from these lofty pronouncements or abstract ideas alone. It comes from digging in, asking questions, direct inquiry, personal experience, and being willing to test our own assumptions.
Which leads to a final thought to maybe mull over. What if the most profound truths aren't really about what they are, their final definition, but more about the process of discovering them for yourself? That journey of unbinding, stepping onto that ladder of light, unburdened by prior assumptions, what if that's the real treasure?